spiritual songs. Easy one, Here I Am, Lord. I'll try that one. Here I Am, Lord. That's an easy one. Nope, I don't know that one. How about this one? I Place My Soul. Anyone not know I Place My Soul? You want to say it together? I'm going to turn around because I can't. I place my soul into your hands, my Lord Jesus Christ. Lead me, 'cause I depend on you. Lead me and I'll serve you. Please be my guide in every way. Be my guide, I will astray. Sanctify my heart and my needs until I see you, Lord.
As you have always said, O source of all goodness, as you have always said, O source of all goodness, come unto me, all you weary, come unto me, and you'll find rest. Come unto me, I am the way, I am the truth and life. When my life gets filled with worries and darkness overwhelms, the clouds will be dispersed away by you, O Prince of Peace. You are my shield, you are my hope, you are my strength, you are my goal, you are the perfect love, O Lord, of whom then shall I fear? As you have always said, O source of all goodness, as you have always said, O source of all goodness, come unto me, all you weary, come unto me, and you will
All right, how's everyone doing? Wonderful. How is everyone doing in this cold? We're still blessed. Our friends up north of here they're really suffering. They're seeing, what's that? -10 in New York, and others have said 1 degree, -7, minus something. It's pretty painful. So hoping everyone is warm and everyone is in good health. All right, so thank you all for bearing with me for the past few weeks. This is the third week, and it's been a very, very heated series. It's been a very enlightening series for me, most of all. This study, this research for me has been something that's more enlightening and more educational for me, and I hope that we as a community can get something out of this and take a step forward. The Great Rewiring is about our children and how our devices, these guys, have been massively impactful to our community, especially for the last generation. We're learning a lot of things now. So I want to start with what became a theme for this series. Children are not a distraction from more important work. They are the most important work. Our families, in my family is inside the circle. My work, my duties, my things to do, my errands are all outside of that circle, and they are all there to serve the inside of the circle, which is my family. This entire series is based on this wonderful book, The Anxious Generation. The author, a researcher and a doctor PhD doctor, I think, in university in New York, in NYU, New York University, a very prominent university, and he did this massive research on the impact of devices on our children. He actually had a different plan in mind for this book, and it became because of the immense amount of information that showed how devices are impacting our children and what it became to be. And a lot of information that we've been talking about so far came out of that. There are obviously our Christian core aspect. He is an atheist. He did talk a lot about spirituality, which we talked about last week. So far, we've covered 3 aspects. There's a mental and physical impact of devices on our children, spiritual impact of devices on our children, and then finally, today, we're going to do what can we do? So kind of a quick summary. I'm not going to go in deep in length at the first 2 that we talked about last week, but the mental and physical impact, there are 3 things children need to grow. There are 5 things that devices are harming them. The first one is anti-fragility. Our children are not made to be fragile. God made them to take some impacts to learn, and just like the viruses that they get from being in school, they get sick, they recover, builds their immune system. Likewise, their interaction with other children does the same thing. And when we take them away from it and put them on devices, you've lost that ability to build their psychological and mental and communal abilities to communicate with others. Children can climb trees, they can go on playgrounds, they can do dangerous things, they can fall. If you look at my child, every week so far I've told you what my child got into, and I'm absolutely happy about it. My child today, if you see her, she has a little band-aid on here because while playing outside in the cold, she fell on her face and she scratched this little area and her knees. Absolutely fine. That is okay. I've done worse when I was younger, and they all should. In fact, she finds it funny if you guys ask her. The second part of it is how our brain wires together. So children needs puberty and brain wiring. Age 7 to 15 is like cement hardening. If you catch it while it transitions between wet and dry, your name will last forever. That is really what we're doing. Between that age group, we need to start working really extra hard on teaching them our church, our ethics, our godliness, our eternity. Teaching about how to become a full being, a full human being of living the fullness of life, being perfect in everything that you do here and in heaven, knowing our weaknesses, but going for it. Neurons that fire together, wire together, has been the theme of this one piece of it. If they fire together, they wire together towards holding the phone, or if the kids are fighting together, give them something to watch, or I want to clean the house, give them something to watch. That's what they're going to end up becoming as they grow up. I don't want to deal with this. I'm going to open up my phone, or I'm in the habit of, I don't want to do something, or what am I supposed to do? Pull out the phone. The last part of it was, you guys see this? What's going on? The third part was responsibility and growth. Our children needs responsibilities in and around the house for them to grow. You got to give them their, at the proper age, let them do things. I know the house is going to get messed up, and that is absolutely okay. But they will not learn how to clean dishes unless they mess up some things a little bit along the way. And then we talked about the 5 harms of devices. The first one is social deprivation. 68% of children complain that their parents are not paying attention to them while the child is talking to us as parents. We are the reason for them to be socially deprived. Now that is becoming on a larger scale. As they grow, everybody's on the devices. I was talking to someone today, and he said that when he was younger, he used to play with his neighbors if he's bored. And I was like, now everybody pull out their cell phones, that they don't have to meet up anymore. Sleep deprivation, we talked about this being a tool that military forces around the world use it to torture someone to speak up, say something. And now these kids are being sleep deprived, which causes aggression, causes lack of impulse control, information retention, no motor skills. All of these are coming because they sleep late and they stay on the phones. I've seen a lot of the youth's screen time, and it is very much that. They sleep late, they wake up early, the first thing they open is social media. Attention fragmentation, our minds needs to be able to be bored for a while. Focus on something for you to come up with an idea. It takes about 15 minutes for your brain to get into default mode network, into thinking about what am I supposed to do next. Most of your great ideas will come up at that time, but your phone will ring and buzz every 5 minutes on average. For women, it's 2 to 3 minutes. How are you supposed to get any work done, or attention, or focus on, or your brain even develops into the greatest ideas if you don't do that? That is a problem. Number 4 is addiction. Smartphones are made to be modern day addictive. And we talked about children's frontal lobe, their logical side is at 20% when they're age 16. It doesn't completely develop until age 25, I think. And then in the meantime, their pleasure side is already developed. Because of that, their brain absorbs addiction and pleasure out of addiction so much, immensely better, like way better than what we can. So then we look at it and be like, oh, they're just looking at something. No, they're getting a different feel than we are. And then they get stuck with it and they can't get out of it. A lot of addiction is happening because of this now. Finally, indoctrination. The things that we try to teach our kids for 3 weeks, it takes a social media short video, 30 seconds to teach them. I have some stories on this, but I'd rather not get into it. And then girls are way more vulnerable because, one, they get affected by social media comparisons and perfections, and picture improvement apps makes girls look way better and pictures look better. Girls' aggression is more relational. So again, men, we fight if we don't like each other. Women, they just isolate each other, talk bad about each other, post things about each other, and do it that way. Girls are easily share emotional disorders. So if all of these influential people that they watch are teaching girls bad behavior, and now they are learning it and becoming it. Finally, girls, and most importantly, girls are more subject to predation and harassment. Once they get the phone, they are going to get harassed and ask for things. I've heard more stories now. I used to hear some stories in the past, but now I'm hearing more because people have come to me and talked to me about it since we started this. Boys, failure to launch, addiction to pornography, lower grades. We don't have the emotion. Men just build it up, and then it manifests itself in bad outcomes. So boys become losers and hermits. Second part is the spiritual impact, and we talked about the liturgical prayer and devices. We talked about kadosh, that's the Hebrew word, which means kudus, which means holy, and the word kadush means to set apart, set aside. that is to set aside our holiness and set aside God and elevate Him, and us as holy to be set aside from everything else out in the world. But yet our youth are here on devices playing video games, watching things that are inappropriate. And then the answer is mom wants me to have the phone or dad wants me to have the phone because they need to talk to me. Or parents want me, I'm just looking at Coptic reader. I see a lot of that Coptic reader. Ladies too, I see some girls inside saying Coptic reader and they're just doing whatever else that they're doing. They just told you, moms, that they're on Coptic reader, but they're not, generally speaking. So you lose all liturgical prayer benefits. It becomes a weakness in a weakened community because through liturgical prayers, through praying together, crossing ourselves together, bowing, worshiping, prostrating, all of this together, raising our hands together, that actually connects us together psychologically and mentally. So that's why when we go outside, we have a different feel towards each other and we can talk to each other in a different way. We can forgive each other more. But without it, we get disconnected. We lose that. We lose that community, and that is key. And we thank God for our church for having this kind of community. No reverence and no sacredness. We're just bringing the profane from the world into here, which we're supposed to leave it out there. But we're looking at the device. Everything is important on that device. But we have to think again and say, God is more important. I don't need that device. No in-person community anymore. The second part is stillness, silence, and focus. We lose the ability to pay attention again, so we're going back on the whole default mode network, and it becomes more about me. I'm thinking about myself. There's no godliness. There's no higher calling for me. There's no spiritual gain of anything. And most young people become heavy users of social media during the sensitivity period of godly learning between ages 7 and 15. Everybody enjoyed that picture, so I'm going to bring it back here. Devices put us in the devil's realm. God's realm is outside. God's realm is the beauty that He created for us. He created this world for us to enjoy it with Him, not enjoy it by ourselves away from Him. Just like all of us, we are trying to make our homes the best home we can possibly have for our children. Likewise, God did His best for us. And instead, we're outside looking at devices and we see something that's remarkable, a sunset or a beauty or a beach or something. First thing we do is pull out the phone and take a picture. And I have to remind myself every time that I don't need to take that picture because the best moments is when I absorbed it all in and I can still remember and recall it at a second's notice. I don't need an AI to look up, hey, what was I doing when I took that picture by the beach in that place? And we can all do that. We don't need to pull out the phone to take the picture. And finally was the excuse of, well, I can see nature on the device. It's quality, not quantity. If you don't do the hard work into going out there and exposing yourself and, kind of seeing things for yourself, seeing the Himalayas from somebody else's eye on a device or a camera doesn't really do it. And then finally, devices is a moral destruction. God said, judge not and that you not be judged. Devices says, judge quickly and publicly, lest ye be judged for not judging. And like I said, in that part that I read about the devices, anybody can snip it out of any video, YouTube, whatever from last week and share it. And everybody say, look at this Coptic church, they're teaching people bad things. And we be judged all day long. Social media teaches us to judge other people so quickly by after a 30-second video. What do you think we're going to learn to do when we go out there? We're going to see things and judge. We're going to talk to people and judge. And everybody will be judging everyone. And our Christianity will be watered down. Finally, do not give what is holy to the dogs, nor cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn and tear you in pieces. So what shall we do to fix this problem, this devices problem that we have? A couple of verses from the Bible. You have not yet resisted bloodshed, striving against sin. So, these devices are not bad, but the devil have used it for his purpose, clearly. And a lot of people are using it for that. And sometimes we're just trying to take things, let's take the easy way. You know what? I deserve to look at this, or let the kids watch it. I just need a break. But sometimes we have to resist to bloodshed and strive against sin. Whoever has no rule over his own spirit is like a city broken down without walls. You know what? This one really, really speaks to having devices. Because if we have no rules over our devices, we are a city without wall. I mean, we're exposed. So first thing first, we have to look at children as plants, right? And this one was mentioned that before 1950, before 1970, there was no, this researcher did, he's mentioning another book, that there was no place, there was no books and studies and teaching about how to raise children. It's because there was no control in birth. So, people get married and, you got 6 kids and there's nothing you can do about it for the most part. So then there's a process of how do you raise these children, and you cannot be as attentive to every child the same way you are. So it wasn't until that was 1950s when things changed, and 1970s is when books about parenting started to come out and education and stuff like that. Why? Because families have shrunk a lot. So with that, the idea behind parenting is not to control not to sit there and watch the plant grow, but rather to feed it everything and give it everything it needs. But you really don't have to sit and watch your mango tree grow up, and then every time there's a branch going this way and cut it, and then the yellow pieces, and you don't do that, but you have to give it the right environments. And I think this is kind of the way that he's looking at it, like, let's grow our children's minds. Let's grow that garden in their minds. Let's make sure that they are rich in their minds and they are fruitful. And maybe that will lead to that fruit that Jesus have talked about, because we have to make sure that the soil is really well for them to grow those plants, those trees. So we talked about this many times in the last 2 weeks, right? No devices until at least high school. Give it the same exact rule as driving. And I say that because a lot of parents would say, well, I feel good holding the phone or watching something, then why not the kids? And we will hold back on that. A lot of families would say, our parents would say, why not? There's no harm. There's no this. But I think if we just mentally say that it's the same rules as driving, then you're really not going to let them drive that car until they're age 16. Yeah, you enjoy driving, that's great. But your kid doesn't have to drive until age 16, so they don't get in an accident. That same mindset would help us focus on saying no every time to when they ask for the device. And the nagging will continue. The nagging, the manipulation, whatever tools that they have to get to you, they will keep doing that. It's not going to stop. So, again, set that rule up front and say it's the same as driving. I'm not going to give you a device until at least high school. And now you're in control, not the DMV and not them. Starting with the church activities, leave your devices in the car. It is not going to go bad. I've done it for 15 years in the heat of Florida. Every single day, my phone never went bad. I never had a battery problem. I almost traded every one of them, or I ended up recycling or giving it to somebody because it's still useful. Leave it in the car, it'll be fine. It's not going to overheat and die. Somehow they made it to survive it. During services, any services, no devices at all. Because now, if my children don't have devices, but somebody else's children does have devices, everybody's just going to gather around. And I saw that. A couple of weeks ago, a young man sitting over there, ironically, he was in late high school, driving too. And then there was a bunch of kids, probably age 10 or less, that were gathered around him during liturgy, during the sermon, and watching something on his device. So I had to go all the way around and say, you know what? It's not only wrong that you are holding the device. Everybody else around you is doing the same thing. In another church, I was sitting there, and during a sermon, again, there were 2 guys sitting in the front row watching the soccer game of whatever his name, Mo Salah or Egypt or somebody, right? Doesn't matter. They were watching a soccer game during that time, and it had to be taken away from them. That should not happen. It should not be in any service. Nothing that takes away from the community togetherness. Finally, it takes a village. We have to be vigilant. We have to agree with each other that if somebody does have a device, we need to help each other and say, sorry, you cannot have that here, and where is mom and dad? Give it back to them. So if we all work together into this part, this would create this environment of a no-device church. Consider it like smoking. Smoke-free zone, device-free zone, and keep it as that. Gentlemen in the back, we can hear you. Thank you. All right, the harder part, us, for the adults. So there are 4 parts to this, and we should pay particular attention to it, because our habits, and I learned this from a priest in the DC area. He said, in Arabic, العيال مش هيطلعوا زي ما احنا عايزين، العيال هيطلعوا زي ما احنا عايشين. Children will not grow up as we want them to be, but they will grow up as we are. So whatever we are doing, they will do likewise. When you wake up in the morning, you should not have your device. So it's going to be broken up into these 4 categories. Waking up in the morning should not be the first thing is open the device and see what's going on. We should have family time to spend together. As in, dedicate 2-3 hours daily that you say, I'm going to plug in the phone and I'm going to have a conversation with all of us. If you want a reason or something to conversate about, we made this little simple handout that has 2 things on the 2 sides. The first one here is some of the habits, because obviously we're going to come out of here, we're going to forget 90% of it. It's natural, it's normal for us humans. But it has some things to say, what can I do? It has a checkbox, so you can actually check in the box and say, I'm going to tackle this one, next this one, next that one. On the back end of it, there is a list of questions. The list of questions is, what kind of questions you can ask your child when they come back from school, or when you're eating dinner, or together, or in the car. And the good thing about it is that it's not going to be that traditional, how was your day today? Because my answer as a child would be, good. Has anyone else heard anything else other than good? No. It's a really, really bad question. It's a really poor question. There's a wonderful book here. It's called, I brought a lot of books with me today. It's called How to Raise Kind Kids. This one actually talks a lot about, all of the above actually, talks about devices as well, but it talks also about how to have a conversation with our children. And it has like a chapter dedicated to asking these questions. If you're ever interested, this is a really good book to read as well. Very well-rounded all around. Anyway, so if anyone can help me pass those around, that'd be great. But if you ever want to have these questions, have this on a table next to you, and you can ask it. For the most part, this applies to most ages. There's a part at the bottom for the younger ones, for the older ones, but it can work all around. Nighttime, please plug in your phone away from your home, away from your bedroom, away from anyone's bedroom, not next to your children. I made that mistake of, I wanted to watch the football game a few days ago? I wanted to watch the highlight. And I'm sitting next to my child while she's going to sleep, and I'm watching it. And she reminded me, because we have that conversation all the time, she said, Daddy, it's not good for you to watch this before you go to sleep. I'm glad she's telling me that. She's paying attention to what I'm saying, but I also have to keep myself accountable so I'm not doing the same thing. This will take a lot of work, and I feel for you that it's going to be hard for us to do these things. Sometimes we have to take some steps. And kind of, you cannot quit cold turkey, as they say. Sometimes you have to kind of step it down little by little. I'll cover as much as I can. Finally, a Sabbath. This is the 4th commandment in the 10 Commandments. It's not something to be ignored. If you ignore your Sabbath, then you get to ignore the first commandment as well, or the one that says honor your father or mother, or the one that says do not steal, right? So The Sabbath is important. Jesus did not condemn the Sabbath. He condemned the misuse of the Sabbath by the Israelites of his time, and rightfully so. But we should probably have a Sabbath. Sometimes on the Sabbath, I would have something called a digital detox on my phone, which I would press it, and for me to enable or use most of my phone functionality, I would have to pay $2. It's $2. It's $2. But honestly, I just don't want to, it's something that holds me accountable. So I don't. And I try to do that as much as I can on a Sunday, and it gives me an alert every Saturday night and says, Sunday, better put on your phone on whatever. So I turn that thing on, and my phone is pretty much mostly useless except for texting, calling, WhatsApp, whatever necessities I need to take care of. But that's going to free your time, and it's going to give you your time back to do something more family. All right. Here are some things that I hit on the, kind of some quick ideas that I threw on prior slides. Just want to make sure not to forget them. But we talked about, first thing is no phones, no TVs or devices in the bedroom at all. This is for the children primarily. Some parents like to have it. I humbly disagree, because the blue light out of it makes your brain think that it's sunlight, and then it's going to take you an extra hour just to sleep. Why? Sleep is good. So keep the TV outside, and no devices or TVs inside children's rooms or your room. This is a big deal. There's enough research on this to debunk any kind of ideas or thoughts or maybes, right? This is a big one. All right, next one is when kids are home. So we talked about this, 2-3 hours, we talked about this. Family events, leave the phone in the church, leave it in the car. We talked about all of that. When you come at home, maybe leave the phone in a charging station outside by the door. Leave it outside of the bedroom. So when you do that, you actually get to forget about it. It's actually a blessing. I think we covered every single part of it. Okay, the next one here is a very nice, before I get to this little video, when I was, during my time, I tried to find different ways to overcome the phone addiction, if you will. I really want to watch this YouTube video, I want to do this, I want to do that, and if I stay on it at night because I'm tired, then I might watch too much and not go to sleep enough, all of these things. And I kind of thought back, let me go to a flip phone. I did a flip phone for a weekend. It didn't work well because the texting and the communication outside of a phone call became nearly impossible. It became a mess. I came back and I was like, let me find something else. And I found this thing called the Minimalist app. I'll let her talk to it to make things clear. It's 1 minute. It's not working.
A good read. Once you finish the intro and mindless scrolling, here's how I set up my minimalist phone app to do that. First step, tap on download and let the app show you why your phone is the biggest hurdle in becoming the most focused and productive version of yourself. Here it explains why some apps are addictive, the reason you open apps that you don't want to open, and what you can do about it. Make sure you give it a good read. Once you finish the intro, enable the permissions and let the app do its magic. Don't worry, the minimalist phone app takes your privacy very seriously, and they never sell any of your data. In fact, it's just required for the in-app time reminders to work perfectly. Here's how I use the app in the best way. I love having a customized setup, so I organized all my apps into personal folders like socials, work, banking, productivity apps, and more. Once you've made your folders, add the important ones to your favorites so they end up on your home screen. Make sure not to add any you don't want to spend too much time on, like social media. Quick search always comes in handy when I want to quickly search for an app in all apps. Next, set up in-app time reminders and never get stuck in endless scrolling again. In-app time reminder is active by default for all social media apps and games. Use the 15-second pause to stop yourself from mindlessly opening apps. Easily block addictive apps for focus sessions. Select the blocking time that works best for you. Lastly, use app hiding and grayscale mode on selected apps. Start your free trial today.
If you're worried about, so it is a paid thing. I think it's like $20 a year or $30 for life or whatever it is. If you're worried about them stealing your information, because of my line of work, I've studied and I know of every app that takes your information. If you have TikTok, you've already been exposed to everything and anything. They take everything out of your phone. Every piece of information, every banking, every personal, everything. If you have any Viber, that's a really, really bad one. If you take WhatsApp, also takes a lot of stuff. So if you have this stuff, don't worry about them stealing your stuff. Your stuff is already out there, and it's owned by everybody else, especially in the Chinese data centers. That's one. If you want to try, you can try for like a week. It does create this thing of, let me see. It does look like that, right? So it creates this list, and that list makes you not scroll and look for the shiny things and press on it. So it makes it like you have to purposely look for your YouTube. You type it, YouTube, and for it to pop up. It doesn't even, like, if you misspell it, you're going to have to erase and type it. When you do it, it opens up and gives you this 15 seconds of, do you really want to go on it? When you go and be like, how long do you want to go on it for? 15 minutes, okay? After the 15 minutes, it will remind you again, hey, are you still want to be on it? And it gives you that timer again. So it makes things a little bit meticulous, so it kind of gives you a little bit of a resistance, which is fine. It can help you. It really does help me a lot. My habits have changed a lot since I used it. So it took me like a day or two, and I said, you know what, this is worth it. I'm buying it. I do have this blocking schedule. Oh, notification. Remember we talked about this? Every 5 minutes you get a notification. Ladies, every 2 to 3 minutes. For my notifications, I have only the essentials being notified. Everything else goes in this list. If you look right there on the top left, it says 65 notifications cleared. I sometimes get like 99 plus because I don't look into it, and I look like, every 2 days or something. And I'm like, all of these unnecessary notifications. Oh, this news or this video that you like or blah, blah, blah. All of this garbage that you try to filter out, it's all in there. I'd be like, look, nothing, clear. And I just clear it out and it's done. But then I don't have to get the constant bing, bing, bing and disrupting my day, which is great. This is my blocking schedule. This is my personal blocking schedule. They only give you mindful morning as a start, but this is mine. So I have my work hours. I actually select which apps I don't want. So any social media apps, any video apps, any of this stuff, not useful. I cannot. It gives me this ouch thing on the far right. The eighth, which is Sunday, the 8th day, the day of resurrection. And that's my Sabbath. So I pretty much block anything that doesn't. And ask Carol, she'll be like, hey, can you see that thing on video or whatever? I'm like, I can't, that's blocked. So that's kind of, my thing. Then evenings, no screen on the evenings, as in around like 8 o'clock or so. I don't let most of the things that are addictive gets blocked. I think this is a very good tool. It's up to you if you want to use it or not, but I'm just kind of giving you an idea. Now that's it for our home, at home. There are do's and don'ts that we want to kind of focus on. The first don'ts are never give your child a phone for you to complete a task. YouTube is not scrubbed. The kids should not watch alone. Exactly a little bit over, about 10 years ago, there was a talk right here. Somebody was standing right here and saying that in another Coptic church, they had a YouTube video of a spiritual song, Ternima. And along the way, while the entire congregation are reading from it, kids and adults alike, there was a picture that was kind of flashed in there of a naked person for about 2 seconds. Obviously, by the time they shut things down, it's too late. Everybody have seen it. YouTube is not scrubbed. None of the video platforms are scrubbed. Why would you allow that to happen? Watch your videos that your kids are going to watch before they do, because you don't know what's in there. The only thing that's running this YouTube system is a bunch of algorithms that look for things, and these are not always right. In fact, they would remove a lot of Coptic baptism gets removed because it has nude, babies in there, but that's true, right? But it would not remove videos and stuff that has videos of naked people in there. So these algorithms are obviously not very well built. So please, don't just let them watch YouTube. Even if you get stuff, it is not safe. Make sure you watch it first before you watch it. Even when you sit, watch it with them. And I cannot stress this enough. No devices, no TVs in a children's room. Let their mind grow. Don't give them that thing that's going to kill their creativity. We don't want to be dumb people with smart devices. Do's, give children a task and a schedule. Give children hobbies. Paint, and I'm giving kind of a very simple thing here. One birthday, we got this birthday gift. It was a very heavy box, and I'm like, what's in that thing? I open it up, and somebody gave us like multiple gifts of like painting and arts. One of them was like rock stones with colors and paints, and I'm like, this is wonderful. We can collect any stones. You can go to a dollar store, buy a bunch of paints, and let them have fun with it, right? Like, it can be very simple. Help them build origamis and cut on wood and paint on things, and let their mind grow. If they are bored, ask them to find something to do. Tell them, what would you like to be creative in? I'm pretty sure all of us, if not most of us, when we were growing up without devices, we were bored and we got very creative, didn't we? Let's do it that way. The challenge here is that kids who are used to devices. So how do you change now? Okay, I didn't know, my kid is doing it. What am I supposed to do now? There's this other book. It's called The Power of Habits. This is by far one of my favorite books of all time. This book is amazing. And it talks about change of habits, and yes, it will take you years to change your personal habits, and it does take a lot of work, but this book makes a lot of sense. And it talks about this. Usually a human being will go with a cue, like you get a cue. I don't know. Let's talk about one of the examples that was in the book, okay? My teeth feels dirty. So that's the cue. The habit is, I'm gonna brush my teeth. When you brush your teeth, you feel that minty taste, which, by the way, that minty taste has nothing to do with the cleanliness of the teeth, but because they added it because it does have that feeling, and it did work psychologically. And the outcome is, right, the reward is, I got clean teeth. And it's the same thing. Your child is bored. I want the device. They're gonna scream, they're gonna kick, they're gonna do all sorts of things. What do? I have to replace the habit with another one. That's what I mean by, please have a replacement, have a plan. Takes you 10 minutes to sit down and write down a plan of what am I gonna do. Takes you half an hour to find it. It's the same amount of time that if you open right now your phone and look up digital well-being for Android or screen time for your phone, you will find out that you spend a lot more time on social media on your phone than you can write down or find that plan. All right. It takes consistency because your child will push hard. It also takes perseverance. Saint Isidore said this, gave the advice to Saint Moses, and it's a really good advice. So Saint Moses has been struggling with a list of sins, right? He's really struggling. And he went, Saint Moses the Strong, excuse me, did I say anything wrong? And then Saint Moses the Strong went to Saint Isidore, and Saint Isidore gave him the advice, and he said, look, the bad habit is like a hungry dog at a butcher's shop. The butcher is used to cutting down his meat, and any extra bones he will throw it to the dog. If the dog does not get the bone, if the butcher decides to not give him the bone to chew on, the dog initially would just stay quiet. Then he will start barking, and he will start getting louder, and eventually that dog will leave. The point is here that our habits to be changed from bad to good, first it will be quiet, then there's that part when it gets very loud, that's when lapses happen, and then it will go away. But it takes hard work and it takes perseverance, and that's what we have to work on. Our children needs us in this if they are used to it, that you have to persevere. They're loud, they're crying, they're whining, and you can't say, you know what, and as hit, just give them something. We can't give in to the barking of the bad habits. Not our children. Our children are wonderful. Barkings of the bad habits all around. Finally, give time to new changes to settle. If the child has been used to it, just like potty training, the child poops on himself or herself, then for him to be potty trained, you need to be with him for a little bit. After that time, that child eventually is going to be like I'm self-sustained, I can do this now in a different way. And they really do start getting creative and doing their own thing, and then the nagging stops. Constant messaging. This is extremely important. So here's a story. For some time in our lovely services, not complaining, they would give, every time for Sunday school or any kind of a hymn school or anything, they would give them candy at the end. And candy is like, it's I'm not going to get into this, but it's poison. Like, there's nothing in there that was not made by nature. Like, it's all lab food. And there's a lot of bad things out of it. There's enough to say that we don't need it. So then the kids will come to me and will be like, oh, I want to eat this, I want to eat this. Initially, I had to deal with this. So first I started to complain, please stop giving them candy. Nobody goes to school and gets candy every day for going to school. But we want the kids to have fun and love. No, you're not doing this, right? That's a part. The second part is I started to explain things to the children and say, this is not good for you and here's why. This is not good for you and this is why. And they kept asking the same question. It's like, I just told them 5 minutes ago and they asked the same question. And I was consistent in giving them the right exact answer and giving them why. Telling them why. Here's what these colors are from. Whether it's red is from red, yellow, and blue that's in your M&Ms is out of petroleum, stuff that we put in our cars, and so on and so forth. And then I started to give them an alternative. Look, if you throw this away, I'll get you a better, we'll eat ice cream tomorrow, the good ice cream. So we're like, okay, deal. So they got used to taking the candy and throwing it away. Even one of the servants says, no, don't throw it away, give it back to me. And I said, no, this is not food, you can throw it away, you don't need to confess about it. It's not food. So they started to get used to throwing it away. And they would come and ask the same question. We give them the same answer of saying, here's why it's bad, and give them the facts. At this point, the kids take the candy and they say, Daddy, I got the candy, I throw it away. They don't even ask for an alternative anymore. They just got used to the hey, this candy is bad for me. It's going to hurt me. It's not natural. Here's what it's used for. I don't want to eat it. So they throw it away. And we reward every now and then, but it became a habit. Messaging is extremely important. And thank God that they stopped giving away candy as well. So that became something something great as well. But, just to say that I'm not complaining. But this is one of those things that please continue to talk to them about the why these devices are bad for them. My children continue to ask me the same question, Daddy, why is it bad for me? And I continue to give them the same answer. I don't care how long it takes and how tiring it is. Because children are not the distraction from more important work. They are the most important work. All right, outside of the house. And we're almost done, by the way. Outside of the house, no devices until at least high school. At least high school. Continuing the messaging here. Flip phone if necessary. If they have to make a phone call, you want to know, you want to call them and check on them, by all means, give them a flip phone. They can't really do much with it, except talk to you. But they're going to look bad in front of their friends. The friends will make fun of them regardless of what you give them. If it's not the latest and greatest iPhone, then they're going to get harassed by everybody else in the world in a way that's way worse. Harassments and sexual contents, etc. Monitoring apps and control. So I did look as much as I can about monitoring apps and control. I'll leave that for the next screen, but you can use as much as you can. But, okay, so Android and iPhone. Okay, so Android and iPhone, what is the number one money making for them? Ads, that's right. This is a commercial selling device. How about apps inside? What is the number one money-making thing for them? Ads, commercials. Even the data they collect out of us, it's for one purpose only. To give you commercials for you to buy things. They are after your money. Ads. This is a commercial machine. If I tell them to do anything to this that will take away from their ads and commercial revenue, what do you think they're going to do? Absolutely not. Unless it's mandated and pushed by the government and enforced by the government. There's a lot of mandates. They're just not enforced. They're not going to do it. And what they did is all of these app controls things and monitoring apps and controls is that they restrict it big time. So This is what one of the videos I watched to learn about it and the different apps and stuff like that. Now, here are some of the known ones: Bark, Quest Studio, Family Time, or those are the ones that get a lot of raving things, but I always heard the same consistent results.
Before you decide whatever app you decide, no parental control app is bulletproof. Kids will always find ways to work around things, and there are new workarounds popping up on YouTube and TikTok all the time. These apps are wonderful tools, but the real protection comes from continued, open, and honest communication with your kids about safety, privacy, and their digital habits.
This is the reality. And it's funny because today I was talking to someone, purposely talking to someone that is completely on the opposite end of the spectrum as what I've learned so far, as in give the kids phones. And I talked to him about these controls and things like that, and he said, no, I do all of this. He started showing me all of these things on screen time. And he started talking about there's no way and they can't. I said, hold on. And I opened up my phone. I searched up how to get around screen time, parental control, and I got like a bunch of videos. I played one for 30 seconds. It gave me an answer. And I'm like, your 6 and 7 year old kids may not, or 7 and 8, but eventually they will. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't. If you find something, please let me know. Raise your hand. You know, we'll talk. We would love to know about these parental control apps. But I couldn't find anything. I was hoping to come here with a, hey, you know, here's an app that will do everything for you. But I haven't found any. Empower, not enable. Enabling is the nag is getting to me, give them what they want. You're enabling them to nag for what they want. Example, that's enabling. Empowering is give them responsibilities and let them push their boundaries to be better, to get it done, to be stronger human beings. We are far more capable than we think we are. We truly are. If you look at the history of our humanity, our ancestors, we're talking about some cold and some heat. These people will work outside like all of this is nothing. Dad will have to go outside, cut some trees, bring them home, and light up some fire for everybody else to be warm. And in the summer, you know, everybody will be working inside, heat outside, mosquitoes, whatever, right? These are just very simple examples. Give teens and adolescents house responsibilities outside of just their sports and studies. I'm thankful for, you know, my parents empowered me to do a lot of things. You know, any hobbies or anything I wanted to do, from arts and stained glass and everything else, whatever I asked for, they gave it to me, and it was wonderful. It did help me in my growth. And thankfully, we did not have these devices to worry about. But honestly, my mom was like wonderful, just like any other Egyptian mom was like, no, Habibi, you don't have to clean this thing up. So in my first job, when I was 16, I worked in this grocery store in New Jersey, and the guy is like, hey, you know, the owner was like, hey, can you please sweep the store before we close? And I took the broom and I had no idea what to do with it. This one might be a little bit extreme, right? But I think we might want to kind of, you know, for the sake of conversation, but, you know, we might want to kind of build some habits with them. For example, this one, you know, the first one is something that Karen and I like, hey, let's do this, right? When you come home, lunchbox out, homework out, clean your bag. That's a must. Don't leave your stuff in there and then we have to clean after you. Maybe we can do like dinner, dishes, and a rotation. So a family of 4, every 4th day, this child, you know, it's your responsibility to do the dishes. Something that they might not like up front, but eventually it will keep them like as an active member of society and the household. I have a purpose, I do these things. By the way, this is for them something important, even if they don't like to do it. Do your own laundry. Maybe at a little bit of age, you can give them a little bit, or start small and say, hey, why don't you do this laundry? This is yours. Put it in, wash it, fold it, put it in your drawer. Start small, and as they grow older, if they're in the teens, I don't see any reason why not to do that. Again, I learned this one hardcore when I joined the military. It's do your laundry and organize your closet. Don't say anything. Organize your closet as best as you can, because if it's one little fold that is not done right, or your bed, just sweep they will tear everything up, be like, do it again. So they teach you to be self-responsible, but that makes you that better of a person. It gives you that responsibility. Clean your bathroom. If it's one person bathroom for the child, then you gotta clean your own bathroom. Make sure you do it at least once a week. And if it's two children to the bathroom, then you take rotations or do it together. Even better. Take out the trash. So why not take out the trash once a week or whatnot? But at least give them something to do in the house to feel like they have a responsibility to do. That's going to make them feel like they are valuable, and it's going to enable them to be something better than nagging for a device or something to do. Speaking of fixing the bed in the morning, there was a 4-star admiral that was the leader or the director of the Special Operations Command here in the United States. And he wrote a book that says, Make Your Bed, right? And he talks about the importance of making your bed. Admiral McRaven, he said, when you wake up, the first thing to do is make your bed, because that gives you an accomplishment. You say, I've done something already. And that kind of gives you a good head start in the day. Most of us will wake up in the morning and pull out our devices and look at the whatever makes you feel better. But that's not going to give you any accomplishments. It might make you depressed about the news. It might make you take up too much time and now you feel like you're rushed. Might make you feel like you wasted too much time. Lots of regrets. Nothing like waking up in the morning, make your bed, get to your daily routine. Finally, one of the first images that we kind of put out talked about, what if your child came to you and told you that they signed up to go to Mars as an experimental because of the genetic structure and ability to learn. And all of friends are going as well. You did not consent to it, and you did not consent to sharing any of that data. But they signed up anyway. How would you feel? What would you say? Even after studying a little bit further, the answer would be that they are going, their body, the muscles going to space, going for 6 months on this trip is going to destroy their ability to grow, and it's going to hold them back. Would you agree to it? The answer will clearly be no. So it's time to bring our children back. Let's bring them back home, here, and take these devices from them, let them grow, and then, just like when they're ready to drive, they can be ready for having their device, and slowly getting them into it as needed and teaching them that life is more than just watching the next video, social media, whatever it is that you have on a device. Any questions? All right. So some questions for you. I'd love to hear from you now. Think back on your childhood. What are your most thrilling memories? Could your child have a similar experience today? Anyone? If no one starts talking, I'm going to start giving the phone to.
Freedom of having a bike, being able to go anywhere I want, hang out with my friends.
Okay. Tell us more.
That's most of it. That's all of it. I loved having a bike.
And you just went around anywhere you wanted to go? What age were you?
Elementary school.
Elementary school?
Yeah.
How many of us, raise your hand if your child at elementary school age, would you let them take the bike, go around to the neighbors, drive around the neighborhood without any supervision? Just put his fingers down. All right, one, that's nice. What's holding us back? In Egypt, I would go out at elementary school. I would go to the end of the road, Egypt, right? Like not safe as here. I would hail a cab, take the taxi, go to church, spend the day in church, no phones. Spend the day in church. My mom would give me the money, get whatever food I can get, enjoy the nedi or the activities, the scouts, whatever. I would go for the liturgy first, and then at the end of the day, I would take a cab and come home. That's like 8 hours. Mom has no idea what's going on. Did anybody else have that experience in Egypt? Yeah, we all, a lot of us did. Okay? Maybe at middle school. Raise your hand if it was middle school, maybe. Okay, but I would see more on the men's side. Okay, and some ladies. But, I don't hear about any of these situations becoming a problem in Egypt. But a ride around the neighborhood is a big deal. I don't know. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Anybody else? Anyone else? A childhood experience that you would love your child to have that doesn't really, not happening anymore, maybe. Or maybe you can do it. Okay? When you were your child with children's age, what did your parent trust you to do on your own? How did that make you feel? Obviously, for me, it was not using the broom. We already got that together. It was vacuuming. Vacuuming was good. Anyone? No one wants to share anything?
The question that you had before, what did I enjoy when I was growing up? It's family time. You know?
Yeah.
Breakfast, maybe dinner, but the dinner was ready. I used to cook. So you said, what did my mom trust me or trusted me? My mom, because my father was long gone. It's been in a house with the shores. She was working, so she would come home to a warm dinner. So it was me, my sister, my brother, and now my mom. So that's what I miss. I think for nowadays kids are missing that because the parents are always working. So they don't have the time to sit with them. I think. I don't know in this church, but I see that my friends don't have that time with them.
Thank you for that. Yes, cooking. That sounds like a great idea. Let the kids cook. Let them mess up the kitchen. Anyone else? Anyone else? I'm giving you the opportunity to kind of, give us some pointers here. Yes, sir. Okay, you don't need the mic. I'm going to have to repeat it. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. So to separate, you say it takes a village. So the question is, it takes a village to raise the children, to not have, to control the devices aspect of things. But then in our church, it's impossible because of devices are necessary for a lot of our services. That is a problem. There are some parents that are concerned to give their children devices, but because WhatsApp is so used here, that they had to give a 14-year-old, 13 or 14-year-old a device so he can contribute more to his service. I don't think that's a good idea because that same service before used to use Google Classrooms, which requires an online access. A lot of our youth do use computers. Computers is a different situation because you can sit with them, you can see the monitors, and you can see what they're doing, and you just don't leave them on a computer, then you kind of, that's not helping. But then they get to do, some of these assignments, typing, writing, whatever, within that same visibility. You can restrict a lot of things through the computer as well because it is within the network. There are some network restrictions you can put in place to include a lot of the streaming channels and so on and so forth. So it does, that's a call for action for the churches. All of these services that requires kids to be on phones should not happen. And that goes back to the point of the church services should be a phone-free zone. All of it. So if there's something, sure, that needs to go to the parents, like right now, hey, we're getting messages, your children is ready. By all means, that's for the parents. Because supposedly, we know how to control our device. We have device control, right? What we see and whatnot. But for these children, they don't have that same control, and it's way harder for them to do it. Then no, they should not be having that kind of communication. It needs an overwhelming amount of church members, cradle Orthodox church members, to say, we don't want these services to include phones, and we don't want our children to come into our prayers and our services with their phones. You don't need them. We don't need them. Some of the biggest, I think I skipped over it, but some of the biggest excuses for the youth is, I need to talk to mom and dad. Or, my mom is not here, so she gave me the phone. Okay, give them the flip phone. Or, I need to read on Coptic reader. If you look at screen time. Please, make screen time and digital well-being something that is like front and center. One of your top apps. I have it on my apps, just for myself. And look at how much time they spend on Coptic reader and how much time they spend on something else and on what times, because Apple does give you that, and Android. You'll realize that most of the time, they're not really on Coptic reader. But you have a great point. Then, scale it back. We don't need that kind of engagement on a device. It takes a village. Is that the point you're trying to make? Yeah, so everything that comes from the Pope down on social media and stuff like that was not meant for children. I highly doubt it that was meant for that. I take that as it's meant for me. But again, we are talking about these little ones. And for us to have control, which means that I'm on social media for 15 minutes, mine is like Facebook and all that stuff. It's usually 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you want. Here's a way. If you're on YouTube for 4 hours a day, if you look in your screen time or digital well-being, and you're on YouTube for 4 hours a day and you want to scale it back, again, not cold turkey. One technique to do it is to every week decrease it, put a time limit, and decrease it by 15 minutes. In due time, you'll find yourself only doing the hour or 30 minutes, or whatever it is that your goal is, and you did not feel the pain of the withdrawals from it. But no, everyone in the church is saying to go on it. That's for adults and for a purpose, but not for the youth to go on it and be actively on social media. That does not make any sense, and I have not gotten that feeling from any or understanding from any of the church, the overall Orthodox church messaging. Now, our church, we need to control that. So please, if you see that happening within the children's services, go and talk to the servants and the coordinators. Say, here's a coordinator, by the way, he's for the middle school. And tell them we can't keep doing things on WhatsApp. I'm not giving my kids, am I okay putting you on the spotlight? Giving my kids these phones. This one I got again and again and again. This one, it just keeps coming up. My kid is bullied for not having a phone, for not having social media. It is a bad bullying. My kid is crying. My kid is this. I can't keep doing this. This one needs, okay, so what will you do if your child is bullied for not worshiping idols or converting to Islam? Are you going to say, my kid is bullied and he's crying, I'm just going to let him convert, let him worship the idols, let him go to Buddhism, whatever, let him convert to Islam? Is that going to be the solution for us? Okay, what will you do when they're bullied for not having a girlfriend or boyfriend? My kid is a loser, he doesn't have a boyfriend or girlfriend. Is that okay too? Am I really just going to give up to that? A verse from Daniel, he said, this is Daniel after they said only worship the idol or the king, whatever it was. And he said when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, as in the law was signed, you shall only worship that thing for whatever, he opened up his windows, he went to his house, and his windows being open in a chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled down his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God as he did offer time. So he didn't change his perspective because, well, maybe I should close my windows. He's like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. It teaches us resilience. There was a Syrian young man. He was in his teens, 16 years old. And that young man was in college. He's a friend of ours, right? He was 16 years old at the time when Daesh was controlling the Syrian area. And they would have checkpoints. That's the story he tells us. They have checkpoints of Daesh. And they will pull people out and make sure that they are Muslims. If they're not Muslims, they will give them the option to convert. And if they don't, they will chop their heads off. And that young man, 16-year-old, he went in and he was like, are you Muslim? Say the Shahada or whatever. And he said, no, I'm Christian. And he said, say it. And he said, no. He said, fine, I'm going to cut your head off. He said, Khusara, right? That's what they said. They're going to chop his head off. And then right at the last second, the driver said, leave him to me. I'm going to teach him the way of Islam, and I'll take care of him. He ended up having to escape and come here as an asylum seeker or whatnot. And things worked in his favor. He's now a great physician. And I don't remember where he's at right now. But the point is, you got to have some resilience. We got to teach our kids resilience. So, okay, here's another example. And this one is, so my niece, when she was 2.5 years old, she got leukemia. That's cancer in the blood at a very young age. It was a very, very hard thing. The natural thing for the mother is give her everything she wants and needs to make her happy as she can, because she cannot. And the doctor's advice to her, and I still remember because I was there, was please don't ruin that child mentally and physically, mentally and spiritually. Make sure she is raised the same exact way you would have raised her if she doesn't have that thing. My sister was consistent, and she was persistent at not giving her advice. She got out of it, thank God, after the few years, and she got into this. She's in, everything is great, right? And she said no cell phones. My niece would draw pictures of her wanting cell phones. My sister would draw pictures back showing her no cell phones, just for the fun of it. She's at a really, really good school in a different state, and all her friends got cell phones, the nicest and the best. And she would say, you're still not having a cell phone. My niece is a competitive swimmer. She plays 3 different musical instruments. She's vocally talented. She does presentations. She does things most of her colleagues do not do. Why? Because she draws, she paints, and she's pretty well-rounded, if I have to say. And all of that without using the device. She's really limited on the device. She is at that age of 15, 16. If she had the device, what would be of her? Just like any other kid. Her sister, her younger sister, so my other niece, who is extremely hard-headed and way harder than the older one, she also wants the same things. And my sister's answer is always going to be, no, we're not doing this. We are going to be human beings. We are going to be human beings living the fullness of life, and we're not going to leave ourselves to that thing. The younger one is going to be competing in the Younger Olympics, the Junior Olympics, and she's probably going to be in the Olympics at some point, not this go around, maybe in the next one. But my point is, it takes a lot of hard work, and I saw that in what she's doing with her kids every single step of the way. It's doable. You can't tell me the being bullied thing, because I've seen it happen, and we got to teach our kids perseverance. If every time I get bullied for something, I would have to succumb, that's useless. That's passive, pointless for everything that we do. Anyone else want to have another take at this? Yet another one, because this one came out 3 times. 3 weeks in a row, many, many times. Okay, here's a good one. We have like 2 more minutes, so last question. Do you have any tech rules in your home Do they work? Are there some that you have heard of or would like to try? I would think there's like 5 hands will go up with this one because everybody have like different techniques. We'll just stay silent for 3 minutes until somebody answers. Yay.
So when my kids first got phones, they were very, very limited time. Usually on Saturday for maybe half an hour, and the week, or the weekend. And eventually, as they grew older, first of all, they got the phones very late. Like my daughter got it in end of grade 8. My son got it a little bit earlier, mid-grade 7. And they were bullied for not having phones for a very long time. I think they were the last of their class to have a phone. But even when they got phones, they were really, really limited on time. But even with that, I had rules and I had apps that watch the time that they spend on and what apps are opened. Android and iPhone have that. As they grew older, there was more apps for me to see what they're playing, what games they're playing, what apps have been opened, whether it's on their laptop or iPad or phone. And as they grew older and got out of the house, Life 360, I'm watching them even until now. I mean, my daughter is almost gonna be 20, but I'm still watching everything that they do. Just because they're getting older doesn't mean that you stop parenting them. So you just have to watch. Some apps work, some apps don't, but you, regardless of the apps and you watching over as a parent, you constantly have to be talking with your child. As they grow, you have to be talking what they use, give them advice. They hate it at the beginning. As they grow older, they will learn to appreciate it. Like my kids will come now and tell me, okay, you know how you used to do this and it was so annoying? We kind of appreciate that you did that at one point. They hated it at that time. Now they don't. They understand why I did it. So just a lot of talking.
You're spot on. When I first heard that I was going to have a daughter, a friend of mine, a colleague, told me he has daughters too. He said there's a really good book called Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. That same author, Christian psychologist author, has a strong father, strong mothers, strong sons, because how that works. And it talks about a lot about how they are going to push and they don't expect you to let go. Because the moment you let go and say, fine, they're gonna say, mom or dad, right, depends on that relationship, does not care. Then I'm gonna do whatever I want. And it'll be a letdown for them. But the moment but they want you, they're gonna push back, and it's weird in the psychology and the way she explains it. But they're going to push back, but our goal is to become that wall, that filter, that strength that they can lean on and keep pushing, but we would never, kind of let, right? And then at the end, like you said, they're gonna say, we appreciate that you actually did not. Anyone else? All right, so with a minute to go, thank God for this opportunity to learn all of this and to be able to, be among you and talk about it. I look forward to hearing more from you about this topic. And we have to work together into making our church a phone-free zone for our children to grow. That's the number one goal, and everything else, as we talked about. Again, if you ever want to talk about it, I am more than happy to talk about this topic. With that, I think midnight praise starts in 1 minute. Anything else? Announcement for the next, what's going on next, maybe?
Actually, our next week topic is going to build on what Mina just finished today. It's going to talk about attention versus connection. It's a topic on how to connect with the kids, and it's just going to build on what we just talked about. Just to give everybody a heads up on what's going on, we have a few topics scheduled already. One of them is going to talk about the educational psychology. We're going to have a guest speaker on the 21st of February to talk about that. We have a couple educators coming to talk to us about the different school programs, magnet versus regular school, public school, private school, and the different grant opportunities that are available for for our kids. So we have a lot of good topics coming up. We just hope to see more guest speakers come and talk to us. Thank you, everyone. And we also have a topic about AI coming up. So, thank you.